music.
Aaron Judge, what do you think? Legit?
Legit, just
Not on the juice?
no,
No?
no, I don't think so. He's chasing those sliders outside right now, and
Yeah, he's in a little
got
bit
to
of a
get
slump. Yeah, well, I
get
think
a
the
little
whole team is
discipline.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Sanchez is playing well.
Yeah, but his defense is not good.
Castro and Holiday out hurts.
Yeah, but they're going on a rehab assignment this week.
Yeah.
So they should be back next week.
Yeah,
So which is a good thing.
yeah, they
Yeah.
could go down September and do well.
You know, I tell you, with Jeter being one of the owners of the Marlins, I think he's going to help the Yankees in a big, massive trade.
Why would he do
I
that?
think their best hitter there, Stanton?
Stanton.
Yeah,
Giancarlo.
I think he's coming to New York.
Do you really?
I think Jeter's going to give him to New York.
Why would he give
with
him
about
to
3 or
him?
4 players? You're going to see that deal within the next month.
Why would he give him to him? You mean Jeter knows the organization well enough that he knows good prospects he can get for them, or is he just because he's a Yankee and bleeding Yankee,
Well, you know,
purple, whatever the hell you're
Well,
calling
you know,
it.
it doesn't matter, you know, where Jeter is. You know, well, obviously.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
he
some
owns
out.
another
But you know
team,
what,
he's
but
gonna do
right here,
anything for the
you know,
Yankees.
his heart is still a Yankee.
Oh, it is.
I'm walking
Well,
out of
I'm telling you, his heart is always still a Yankee. I don't care what anybody tells me.
It is, and he, you know,
Look, geez,
he'll,
now you too.
he'll get into the Marlins.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
I really think that deal is going to be in the making.
Yeah,
You know, right before the end of September, I think.
yeah.
And-
It could very well be.
Yeah, I mean, he give up. Was it that center fielder there that just came off the DL?
Hicks.
Yeah, Hicks, and there was like 2 or 3 other players that they were mentioning today in the paper. Said it could happen. Don't underestimate, you know, the Yankees and the Marlins wheeling and dealing.
They're already talking
Yeah.
trade.
Yeah.
And the deal hasn't even been
Yeah,
finalized
that's
as
right.
far as
Yeah,
ownership.
Yeah, yeah,
Boy, they're jumping the gun.
yeah.
Wow.
Hi, and welcome to the Mr. Baseball Show with our special guest, Peter Stella, who was on last week. Mr. Baseball couldn't be here right at the taping because he's, as you people that read the Union Leader know, he was on the front page the other day. He's been called to testify in the infamous Mickey Morandini organ grinding suit. So he might show up, he might not. So we have Peter Stella here. Peter, you've probably been following the Mickey Morandini tragedy, haven't you?
Yes, and it's heartrending. I was very distraught upon hearing the news. I was always a big Mickey Morandini
Oh,
fan.
okay. You have to learn, you know, as you're on TV, to give the bigger blabbermouth his time on the camera. As we're going to recap for the people that don't remember it. We all know that you know the tragedy of Mickey Morandini. He was an all-star infielder. What was it for the old Phillies or National League? It doesn't matter what team.
Phillies.
Right,
Phillies
Phillies.
mostly, that I recall.
At the moment of triumph, and he had his tragedy. He's one of the few people that have pulled off an unassisted triple play when he, if you remember, Peter, he had that line drive to the chin that he managed, that dropped into his glove, and he stepped on the bag, and then he fired it over to first. An unassisted triple play.
I think he's one of the less than a half dozen in Major League history to have accomplished that feat.
What you didn't know until recently in the news stories, and Mr. Baseball's over there testifying, character witness, because Mr. Baseball, the real Mr. Baseball, knows practically everybody. There was, you know, after the 3 divorces, that kind of divvies up your pension, doesn't it? And he was reduced to becoming an organ grinder here in Manchester, New Hampshire. Now, Peter, you're of the Italian persuasion. That traditionally
Yes.
to Italians, that wouldn't be like a step down in status. being an organ grinder, would it?
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I think that, organ grinding, there is a long and storied tradition within the Italian community
Yes,
in that
uh,
particular activity, and I think it's served to entertain children and passersby for generations.
yes, but then there was the incident over at the middle school where he'd been called on to entertain the kids during one of the snow, what do they call them, snow emergencies or something, where the kids, are up to their keisters in snow and they can't go home. And there was that complaint by the distraught mother. And I got to tell you, but it was a tragedy. What was he doing?
What was the nature of that complaint, Mr. Hopwood?
Well, the monkey was running around without a stitch on. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine
all?
that, Peter? It's kind of like he's violating the trust that you Italians have had with the greater community here in America, whether it be playing baseball or grinding an organ. And if you remember,
Well,
yes, you are of the Italian persuasion.
well, and I guess, it was this like a chimp sort of monkey, or like
Oh,
one
no,
of
was
those
that
like, smaller?
your typical capuchin? But Peter, you have a bare-keisted monkey running around, and you know about monkeys. They start touching themselves,
and,
and then the boys they start thinking about playing with their wee willy winkies. And the girls, those girls that the state legislature tells us are going to be boys someday, and there's nothing wrong with that. They put down their tiddlywinks and they start imagining things. So
Yeah, and monkeys are known to have a high organ to rest of their body ratio.
well, Peter, we all know pretty soon they're smoking the marijuana. Then they're down at the fire station, the safe station, trying to get help for heroin addiction. It was a tragedy all around, but why Mickey Morandini couldn't just put a pair of britches on that ape, we'll never know. Oh, Mr. Baseball's here now.
I am here.
Yes, Mr. Baseball, you've been doing your duty down at the courthouse. Mickey Morandini, had quite a career. He was one of the few players known to stop those smashes in the infield with his face.
Yeah, with his face.
Didn't he, Peter? You're like a stats head yourself, a seam head. Didn't Mickey Morandini from '84 to '87 set a record for balls to the chin in baseball?
Well, he certainly broke Rock Hudson's record.
Oh well, now you're being vulgar.
Okay, now, I think that, he was a hard-nosed player. I will say that about Mr. Morandini. He was not afraid to, he was kind of like not quite as talented Dustin Pedroia type, I would say.
Right.
But, he was one of those dirt dogs that, that people used to affectionately call people on the Red Sox, like, say, Trot Nixon or somebody like that. He definitely gave it his all.
Well, now that we have my introduction for my show, in case nobody shows up tonight, because Mr. Baseball doesn't come by anymore, we invited you on, Peter, I've often been of the opinion that there's too many Italians in baseball, and I think Mr. Baseball would agree. He's definitely down on Joe DiMaggio as being,
right. I'll take 10 DiMaggios any day. Yeah.
What about 9?
I'll take 9 Rizzutos.
Oh, you're gonna put one-
Lazzaris. Yeah, they're just too many great Italian ball players.
Now, Mr. Baseball is of the opinion that Ted Williams was a greater player than Joe DiMaggio.
Greater hitter.
Well, what's controversial about that, Mr. Baseball?
Well,
Now, if Ted was playing, he'd be a DH, wouldn't he?
if you were playing today, he'd probably still hit 300 today.
300. He probably
years.
hit 400. Yeah, at 100. And what is he? He'll be 100 this year.
He was born in 18. So
1918.
Yeah.
What do you feel about
Wow.
the controversy between Joe DiMaggio and Ted Williams? When we were kids, Ted Williams was considered the bum by people like Eddie. Who was it? Eddie Adelman? Remember? He was always going on about Ted.
Well, in my mind, it's not that close. I think Williams was like definitely certainly a greater hitter, and the advantages defensively that DiMaggio had, while obvious, were probably
greatest
not all
center
that
fielder of his time.
considerable. I mean, he wasn't even as good as outfielder as his brother Dom.
Joe
So,
DiMaggio is considered the best outfielder of his time.
well,
The little
who,
professor.
Joe or Dom?
Joe DiMaggio is considered the greatest center fielder of his time. And I remember when Fred Lynn came up, they always compared him to DiMaggio because he was the gold standard. Even more.
Well, I mean, yeah, as soon as, until Willie Mays started, and, that, ended that argument in a real hurry. I think Mays
No.
pretty much started right as DiMaggio was finishing, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the same year,
1951, same year.
the exact same year. But that's a different
Wow.
era, and he did win 10 Gold Gloves, I think.
Dimash?
Willie
Yeah.
Mays.
Oh,
There were no
Mays.
Gold Gloves. No.
Yeah.
And you only had one until, what was it, 1967.
Something like that.
So
yeah.
he had to beat everybody.
Right.
But
Mays was great.
but I thought Vince was the better fielder of the three brothers.
Certainly wasn't the better.
Vince?
hitter, that's for sure.
Vince. Now, see this Red Sox propaganda of the post, let's say, 1975 World Series. Here's an Italian American, forgets about Giovanni, and goes all with Ted Williams. Yeah. You don't have a little Mexican blood, do you, Peter?
No, I don't.
You did live in Ojai.
As far as I know. As far as I know, I mean, I haven't done any of those DNA tests, but I would say no.
Probably it'd be a pure Genoa salami or something, huh?
Ted had Mexican blood. His mother was Mexican.
Was she all Mexican or just part?
I think all.
Huh.
It used to be an embarrassment to him. I don't know why.
Well, his mother he hated.
He was a good-looking guy.
What about his mother?
Dark
Was she a
hair,
good-looking
tall,
girl?
handsome. John Wayne, swagger.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. But I don't know why it bothered him. It's nothing to be ashamed of. That's for sure.
What other great Italians have played the sport? Tony Lazzari's in the Hall of Fame, but it took him many years to get there.
Lazzari Rizzuto took forever to get in.
Phil Rizzuto.
You know. And
And
Billy
like,
Martin should be in.
And let me say, just to point out that I'm not going to be, this Italian player is just magnificent, just on the basis of his Roman heritage.
Why
Phil
not?
Rizzuto is he might be among the lowest of the lowest tier Hall of Famers. I think it's safe to say.
But he won. He
was
won.
not a-
He won an
He was not as
MVP.
good a player as Robert Moranville. Oh, we'll put it that way.
he would Rizzuto wouldn't get into the Hall of Fame today, but going back to his era, he was decent. In that era.
Decent. He won an MVP,
Yeah,
and he was
1950.
considered one of the greatest players and an essential part of the Yankees teams by his contemporaries.
Oh, he was a good ball player.
Oh, really?
Yes, he was.
Yeah,
Why
mean,
isn't Junior Stevens in the Hall of Fame? Vern Stevens.
he's one of those guys where you're just like, I suspect if Phil Rizzuto didn't go into broadcasting after he finished his playing career, the only way he could have gotten into the Hall of Fame was with the paid admission. But that's another thing.
There is a lot of truth in that, according to Bill James. People that of comparable ability who are not in a major market team and that don't have post-playing careers in the public eye don't get put in the Hall of Fame, whereas Don Drysdale does.
Yeah.
He was a borderliner, but then he had the career as a broadcaster. Did he get in the Hall of Fame before he died? I think so.
I believe he did.
Oh, yeah, he was in the Hall.
Yeah, he died in Montreal, in a hotel room.
Yeah, that's what Sandy Koufax. Well, Sandy Koufax hated broadcasting, but he always said after he died, because that's what I always was worried. That's your nightmare, to die far away from everybody, and like a room in Montreal, a hotel room in Montreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, poor Vince Scully was heartbroken. He did. He almost. He said he almost didn't broadcast the game that night. The Dodgers were playing the Expos, and it was all he could do to get behind the mic that night. Tough experience for Vin and everyone who knew Drysdale, who, apparently was a good guy.
Oh, Big D, yeah. I liked him. He was right to the point. He didn't beat around the bush. He said, one of my boys goes down. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that two of their boys are going down.
Hey, I guess so.
That's right.
We just ran out of the great Italians of baseball. I guess that you excelled at singing and organized crime, right?
Yeah, those are two of the gifts that have been bestowed upon us by our Creator.
A beneficent God.
We certainly have a lot of musical talent, especially in the vocal area.
Hey.
And what can you say as far as organized crime goes? It just seemed to emerge organically from the Italian community.
And then there's Joe Valachi. He not only was good at organized crime, but he's good at singing too.
Yeah.
Squealing on the bosses. Hey, what's going to happen to the Red Sox this year? We got this Yankees fan that just loves the idea of Jeter going down there and strip mining the Marlins, sending Giancarlo Stanton up north with $30 million. What's going to happen to Cora's Red Sox? Because I don't see many good signs, and I see a team that could fall apart. What do you say,
Well, I think that they are, definitely looking north at the Yankees right now. I don't think there's any way to dispute that. And on the other hand, I'm thinking that, they're going to be a tough out. I think they'll win about, 90 games again, and, possibly more if they, finally getting around to making a J.D. Martinez-like addition. So I would certainly give the Yankees the edge right now, but I wouldn't put the Sox too far behind. And the Blue Jays, Orioles, and Rays, I just don't see any of them emerging
It's
either.
a toss-up
So
between the three.
I think it's like back to the old days where it's the Sox and the Yankees, and everyone else is sort of looking up at that end of the standings.
Good point. I think you're right. The Yankees, I think, will walk away with the division.
It's baseball, though.
But you know what happens at the end of the season? They have what they call the playoffs. And remember when Seattle won 116 games and got wiped out by the Yankees in 4 games? So
I do remember that.
Yes.
And, the Mariners as a whole have, really never recovered from that. I think they're one of the 4 franchises that have not appeared in the World Series yet in baseball. But
no, they haven't.
you're right.
they had
In
Ken
the
Griffey
playoffs, it's a different thing, especially if you can throw out at least 2 dominant starters. And I think the Sox have a chance to have those 2 guys. I have a feeling that David Price, the much maligned David Price, is going to have a strong bounce back year.
Why
And,
do you say that?
I think that'll make a big difference to where the Red Sox end up.
Oh,
What it-
definitely.
Yeah, but what makes you say that?
Well, if he bounces back.
But he said he feels that he is going to bounce back.
Well, he's got that feeling. You get those vibes. He's a baseball man. You get those vibes.
And where is he getting those vibes from?
You ask him. Don't ask me. I get vibes.
Yes, you do.
Well,
They're all negative because they go to the Bronx. Go on, Peter.
Well, I think it is, obviously, the elbow thing is going to be a question. But, assuming that, the worst of his recovery from that is over, and not only that, he has a chance to walk after this year. Is that correct?
Yes. He can opt
Okay.
out.
So if that being the case, he'll probably be at his best because, maybe he wants a chance to get out of town. I mean, who knows? But I expect Price will be there from, at least from April to September, unlike last year. And, I think it'll make a positive impact on the Sox fortunes.
So what do you think about Cora's going to turn Craig Kimbrell into, a Goose Gossage, Raleigh Fingers type reliever? 3, 4, 5 innings, whatever he can handle.
I don't see that. I don't see that. I don't, and I
I'm
think
talking
Kimbrel
about-
is like,
More than just one inning, of course, the Eckersley type of one. And Kimbrell said that he's not going to do anything that he doesn't want to do. That doesn't get Mr. Cora off on a good foot, do you think? And what about the Boston bullpen? Is it going to? Is it going to be there?
well,
this
yeah.
year?
Are they finally going to see Tyler Thornburg at all? Is he going to make his long-awaited debut? And Carson Smith. If these people come out of the witness protection program, they have a chance to be have a real nice bullpen. But again, that remains to be seen.
It does. There are a lot of ifs, and the beauty is we'll find out during, somewhat spring training. Then when the regular season starts, of course, we'll get a trend, hopefully
Early April.
Yeah.
What about? Okay.
Yeah.
What about Rick Porcello? What do you guys think? We don't have spring training yet to see
Yeah,
what goods they have.
Can he bounce back? I mean, here
11, 17.
here
with
you've
a
got
4.65
3 Cy
ERA.
Young Award winners, with the exception of Sale, but could have been. And that's a pretty good little staff if you have 3 of those guys, and they're healthy and throwing well. But
Oh yeah, I mean, I think probably what you're going to see from Porcello this year is somewhere in between where he was when he won the Cy and where he was last year.
yeah,
So I think you'll see a slight Porcello upgrade this year, and again, I'm sort of like flying from the seat of my pants here, and I'm not usually this optimistic about some of these players, but I don't know. It's just for some reason I'm even predicting a better season from Hanley. I think he's got that
Jesus.
shoulder surgery past him, and I think that really impacted him last year. Swinging the back goes, and
yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. Pedroia, is going to have a nice knee, hopefully,
Yeah.
and
At the end of April, he won't be back till May. Playing.
So I like to call him Porcello because
Porcello, huh?
Yeah, because it makes him seem more Italian, and you have the musical interest here. And also, I like to mispronounce words.
Oh,
I like to do it
That's true.
deliberately to cover up the fact that I mispronounce practically everything. So is he going to go back to, let's see, 2015? He was 9-15 with a 4.92, 22-4 with an 3.15 ERA. Then he went to 11-17. It might be losing 15 games is the norm for him.
never know.
God knows what happened in 2016.
Yeah.
What happened?
yeah, well, he was always the guy who was, sort of like the hidden gem of the Tigers staff. And
I mean, when he won when he lost 15
the Sox
games?
made a great acquisition with him, and ultimately he'll probably settle into being a decent number 3 starter, a la Don Sutton.
So.
Well, yeah, that's a good point.
So, well, the pitching coach and the manager, John Farrell, and his pitching coach that helped Mr. Porcello, have that Cy Young award-winning season, they're long gone.
Yeah,
John Farrell, who was famed for, his work with pitches, but who, if you listen to the radio, sports radio, like we all do, we know that he's a satanic bum that just happened to win a World Series. I mean, it just fell in his lap. Anybody, and your the opinion too. Anybody, I could, you could, or Mr. Stella, or is there someplace I can mispronounce your name? Stella, Mr. Stella. We could all, take over the Red Sox and either
manager to 100 games,
Yeah.
100
You
victories.
never know.
Probably with us, 100 losses.
No,
110
we-
losses.
It's,
130 losses. We'd set a record.
Beat the
Now
Mets
you're
record.
talking the Bobby Valentine era,
Bobby's always still up
which
there.
was an era, by the way.
He isn't.
Yeah.
They never did make him the Trump didn't make him the ambassador to Japan, so he's still there.
Yeah.
Hey, Peter, what do you think about these managers that have no experience at all? Unlike your namesake, Casey Stengel.
Yeah.
Most people don't know that Mr. Stengel's got a Germanic name, but is Italian.
Yeah, and he's wearing Yankee pinstripes and a Mets hat.
Hired by organized crime, Dan
Yeah, he
Topping.
just doesn't know which locker to go to.
yeah.
So he
Take
just
over.
went to both of them.
So what do you think of whatever question I was trying to ask you before? I can't remember the question.
It's something about inexperienced managers.
Right.
There we go.
Um,
Mr. Baseball is kind
Well,
of
we're going to
taking
have
that.
like a heck of a case study in front of us this year. I mean, Alex Cora has been like, he's been like the hot new guy for, at least a couple of seasons. I've been hearing about Alex Cora this,
Yeah.
Alex Cora that. And, supposedly he's going to have a good rapport with the players, and they're going to respect him, and he's like very
Unlike John
sharp
Farrell, yeah.
baseball man.
Right.
Unlike
Yeah,
that
so
bomb.
I don't know.
What about the Yankees
I-
manager?
Aaron Boone.
What about Aaron Boone? He's never managed a game in his life either in the major leagues.
and
Yeah, that was kind of a surprising hire, I thought, by, the Yankees. As far as I can remember, they've always had, guys in the dugout who have,
Oh, yeah.
have had a solid history and background in the game, and, you get Boone coming from a ESPN booth,
Right.
where he didn't impress me all that much as a broadcaster as far as his knowledge of the game goes. So, but maybe he was saving it all for the dugout. So we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, why do you need a Girardi, who was the National League Manager of the Year and took the Yankees surprisingly deep into the playoffs?
Just
But
about
he
every
did-
year.
But he didn't get them into the World Series, so let's get rid of the bum.
Yeah.
He's just a bum.
What have you
I-
done
I-
for me lately?
Another Italian, by the way, which is a way we can kind of wrap up the show.
Joe Torre.
Is Cora, Alex Cora? That sounds suspiciously Italian to me.
I think he's Latino.
Yeah, and it's just like
Six
I
of
wondered
one,
about
half a
Cora,
dozen of the
but
other.
apparently he has an Hispanic background.
Right.
But there's a lot of that Latin culture. There's a lot of crossover there between the Latinos and the Italians. I think in certain areas.
Just like between the Greeks and the Persians, I hear.
The
You know,
Greeks
they-
and Persians.
Well, they fought like hell. What was it? Darius the Great and Cyrus and Cyrus Vance or whatever,
Yeah, but none of them could play baseball.
Well, they didn't have baseball back in the old Persia that I know of. Maybe the Greeks. Maybe baseball's a Greek thing. We know it's a Russian thing. The Russians
Well,
invented it.
Homer.
Well, we don't have much time left.
No, we don't.
Is there something you'd like to say to Peter Stella?
Oh, yeah. Thank you for coming on. You showed me a lot of knowledge because I don't think you're sitting there with a book in front of you.
No.
I think you've got it upstairs like John does and I do.
And the added bonus of knowing all about the history of organ grinding.
On my way in today, somebody stopped me on the street and said, "Are you Mr. Baseball?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "When did the Red Sox become the Red Sox?" And I said, "I think 1907." I haven't looked it up yet.
Well,
I
they-
think you're right. I believe it was 1907.
Yeah.
I think it was.
They're
who
called
owned
the
them?
Pilgrims,
Was it
right?
Some
The,
guy
the
Taylor?
Americans and the Pilgrims. Yeah.
Pilgrims.
They were the Americans.
Yeah.
And then
Wait.
Well, we got to wrap it up. Peter, you're always welcome back on the Mr. Baseball Show. Maybe, but I doubt that if he thinks about replacing me as his co-host with you, he'll still get any word in edgewise.
Yeah, I wasn't considering that as even a possibility, but it was nice to meet you, Mr. Baseball, and
My pleasure.
I see
Bye.
where you got your name, and
Show's
maybe we
over.
can do it again sometime soon.
Very good, sir. Thank you,
Bye,
Peter.
everybody. Say goodbye, Mr. Baseball.
Goodbye, Mr. Baseball. Keep swinging.
Goodbye, Mr. Bates.